Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to Friends on Film, the movie podcast where two friends sit down and just talk about movies. I'm Michael, and back with me on the couch is Ben. How are you doing today, man?
I'm doing amazing. I feel even better now that I'm here because today was just a long, early morning, and now I get to sit and talk about movies with you, my man.
Well, we won't chat too long because we do have quite a bit to go through here today. But
Yes.
Real quick, how was Christmas and New Year's for you?
Oh, it was all great. Had my sister over, had some family over, no drama at all. It was it was a little stressful trying to get everyone together, but aside from that, it was great. All of it was amazing. It was nice being with family, and I did some good cooking myself around that time, yeah.
That's going to be really awesome. Yeah, for me, Christmas and New Year, I was in Nashville for Christmas, visiting my sister with me and my family. And that was just awesome. It was a really chill, relaxing time. And now we're back here, and we have such a different format, and I'm so looking forward to it.
Such a new era for editing. New year, new era, new time to shine.
All the new things coming in, and what better way to get into the new than look back at the old with our worst, best, and favorites, our three favorites of 2025.
Very much. And if y'all disagree, here's the thing. All are subjective. So if you have a favorite, or if there's any recommendations from your personal favorites you'd like to share with us, we're all ears. That's the whole point of this show too. Also.
Right. You can leave it down in the comments or even head over to our Instagram at friendsonfilm_2023 and let us know what you think for your list of the year. So getting into it, why don't you kick us off with your worst of the year, which we need to very clearly state. Worst is just, of course, our own personal opinion, and there could have been so many factors as to why a movie ended up poorly.
Yes.
But we don't hate anyone involved with the production. If we criticize anyone or anything, unless it is part of the reason we don't like the movie, it is purely us talking about it in artistic sense, a business sense, nothing against them as people, or we don't want them to even stop making movies. We want them to get better. That's our hope with worst of the year.
Very much. And for worst, this was kind of easy because I only saw 3 movies this year that were really truly bad in my opinion. One was which we saw for my birthday, which was the 2025 version of War of the Worlds.
I will give a spoiler alert. That's mine as well. That was my worst of the year.
That was your worst, but that's not mine. First of all.
Oh, okay.
That was like an example. There was another one I saw, The Strangers Chapter 2. Not going to go into it. It was a free ticket. I was bored that evening. So I had nothing else to watch. So here we are with the worst. I saw this on a plane, and I got to tell you, 10 minutes in, we weren't even airborne, and my ass was starting to get sore. This movie, look, I like to think I came quite a long way when it comes to these live action Disney remakes in terms of opinion, because some of these I had seen for the second time. This is a movie I know I'm never going to see again. And this is the live action, somewhat, remake of Snow White. The thing about this is what burns so much about this movie. This is almost as big a burn as probably Wish, which I didn't see, but the thing for Wish was that was their 100-year legacy anniversary movie. That was like not end all be all, but that was a really huge movie. This is a remake of the first animated movie that not only came out in theaters, but it was the first animated movie that Disney ever produced.
Right.
So a lot of weight behind this. Some talented people, some of who you know, Rachel Ziegler, who I'm not going to talk about what's been going on with her on the internet. The internet's already done a good job doing that. So I will say this script does not give her this script does not do her any favors. She can sing. Thank God for that. But the script and however the character is written and the arc, even to like the freaking kiss. And look, I'm not even a romantic kind of guy, but the kiss in this movie, I'm just like, no, this kiss not only did not feel earned, it just didn't feel authentic. And there's a lot of things I could go on and rant about this movie, but let's just start with whatever they do change. And without getting into too much detail, because again, the internet's done a great job doing that. Whatever they did change, it was not for the better. And it's not even better by the fact that I know we were a long time ago, and I don't know specifically how this story went, but there was that production photo leak of that group of people in like a meadow or something, and people thought those were going to be the replacements for the dwarves, because it was a rumor that the title was Snow White and the 7 Magical Huntsmen or 7 Magical People, something like that there weren't going to be dwarves. But later on, we did get dwarves. But what I was trying to get at is the dwarves are not very pleasant to look at. And look, we grew up watching Polar Express, y'all.
Yep.
Yeah. And
I'm a fan of Polar Express, so
Yeah.
I'm used to weird, uncanny CG.
Exactly. And the uncannier on these doors, it's not charming. It's very unsettling. And it doesn't help by the fact also that somewhere amongst this live action movie, there is an actual little person in the group. So the whole idea of the doors being CG is a bit off, to say the least.
Yeah, that is really weird. I know that like there was some controversy when it got announced, and Peter Dinklage made the statements of this is, in his words, effing backwards.
Mhm.
And so Disney was like, okay, we're not going to go with little people for that. And a lot of other little people actors were really, really upset at Dinklage for making these statements.
Yeah.
Especially because apparently early on in production, when they were considering people, it was going to be Warwick Davis was considered to play Doc and a bunch of other things. And yeah, that's it. I have not seen the movie yet, so I'm not going to speak to what I have not seen. But I will say, just from some of the stuff from production and what I've heard, does sound disappointing. But I am going to get around to watching this because of an episode later this year that's going to be fun to do. But for right now, all I will say is I'm not looking forward to this one as much as some of the others, which I've not heard are also not great, but this is the one where I'm sitting there going,
Ooh.
I'm a little nervous to watch you.
Yeah. And just to end it off, it's such a shame that Mark Webb, what a really legitimate, talented director, and somehow he's been unable to really come back into the directing circle for cinema. He's got some great TV stuff, but in terms of what he's been able to produce for us, I think it's mainly the scripts he's given. Like he's doing the best with what he's got. So God bless him for doing what he can. I just pray to God he can still do one more movie of like maybe a low budget indie flick for maybe not A24, but someone pick this man up and bring him back to his feet. Someone, please. Yeah.
I mean, that would be cool. I love Mark Webb. I could see him just choosing to go completely into television for a little bit before he goes and does film. But
if he's doing well there, then he can make his earnings and be smart and then make like a small personal movie, like I was saying, an indie flick, something like that. Yeah.
Right. For my worst, I've already kind of said it, but it was War of the Worlds, the 2020. I really fought with myself over what I thought was going to be the worst of the year. And it was almost the Electric State.
Oh, really?
It was very close, but I can at least acknowledge that the production work on the Electric State was trying to be really strong.
Mm-hmm.
War of the Worlds, sadly, it didn't do it. There was a cool idea and a cool concept here of being in an alien invasion that you're trapped and all you can do is be on your computer and do the best you can.
And in some ways it harkens to a very, very tiny degree to a Orson Welles broadcast where people were actually fooled that the world was being invaded by aliens. There's an interesting little nod, I guess, with the movie being set in Zoom, but going back to what you were breaking down.
Right. My biggest issue with the film, careful with the wire, by the way.
Oh, of course, yeah.
The biggest issue with this film, I honestly think it comes down to Ice Cube as the lead.
Yes.
They actually, when you look at the script, it's not a great script.
No, it's not.
But there is stuff there to work with in terms of performance that Ice Cube can play with, being an isolationist dad who chooses to keep everyone at arm's length because he's lost his wife.
Exactly.
Like, there is stuff there to work with, but Ice Cube just for whatever reason, doesn't really land with it.
It also doesn't help that his character at times, and this is not his fault, but his character is written he's written at first like he's Ice Cube, which is very much his performance. But then there's parts where he's trying to play it straight, like he's in the middle of like a Pentagon board meeting. He's like, fellow leaders, we are in the middle of an existential crisis on a global level. We must we must unite and come. What, dude, what are you doing? You are not Daniel Day-Lewis. You are not Jack Nicholson. You are definitely not Idris Elba. What are you trying to do here?
Right. For the most part, just his performance is carrying most of this movie.
Yeah.
And if you've seen the other films from this producer who did the movies Unfriended.
Timur Bekmambetov. Let's put it this way. This man directed Wanted.
Right.
Yeah.
He's directed quite a few of these films in this style, and he produced them. He just produced this one.
He's a fine producer, if I'm being honest. Like, I saw a couple short films he did, and like, he's like, if he's a producer, he's good. Wanted was, it happened. It was Wanted. And then there was Abraham. I'm just going to keep my hands back here. Then there was Abraham Lincoln, the Vampire Slayer, which, yeah, anybody remember that? Nope. It's okay, because I don't think Tim Burton even remembers that, he was a producer on that movie.
But going back to what I was saying was that this character, what we've learned with this kind of style of film, what I like to call desktop cinema,
Yes, like
really
Unfriended.
requires a really strong actor.
It does. And Ice Cube, while he's a very entertaining actor, he's not enough for something of this caliber.
Right. And I think the rest of the supporting cast in this movie is fine. I don't think anyone really gives a standout performance that rises above the script. On top of that, I feel bad for the effects team because it's clear that they were either rushed or just ran out of money.
Or who knows, they were probably just, no, actually, like you said, yeah, rushed. Or maybe it was just an effects company that was just told, hey, we're doing this and this is through Zoom. So they just kind of, I'm not saying there was any laziness, but I'm just saying there could have been a mindset, okay, it's on Zoom. It doesn't need to look too good, right? But there were some moments I remember when we were watching like a plane and it flipped and it looked like a shark flipping around in the tornadoes and Sharknado.
Right. As I've been thinking about this movie, it could have been a little bit better if we were able to step outside of the desktop for a bit. Like we had, like we show that he can't get out of the room.
Or at the very least, give us like a first person view moment where we see how dangerous these aliens truly are. Like CCTV footage and all that is all right, setting up atmosphere. But if you can barely give us like a link or something to get us to like get scared of these aliens, I don't know. I guess they thought they were under the idea that less is more. They were trying to do the Blair Witch thing. Here's the problem, though. This is a sci-fi movie that's shot in the daylight, for one. So we're going to see these things regardless. Two, this is War of the Worlds. This was never about what you can never see.
Right.
You can do scenes like that where it's like less is more with the aliens, but we should still see why they're threatening, not just their ships doing a Man of Steel world beam or whatever. Yeah, into the Earth. Yeah.
And I do think this movie is definitely an ambitious film to try and do a Hollywood blockbuster through desktop filmmaking.
Yeah.
But I just don't think it came together in the way they wanted to.
No.
But I could see pretty much this kind of film working in any genre. I think War of the Worlds taught us, with what it's taught us now, is that you really need to be specific and clear what that vision is going to look like.
Yeah.
Like, I keep bringing up the Unfriended films, but they really did such a great job with this style. So I
saw the first one, but I agree. Yeah.
So I really think this is just a way of showing you this is how it can easily falter, but there's also a way to easily do it. And I think almost any kind of genre could work in this style if you have a very specific vision.
Yeah, but to be fair, regardless of how bad this movie was, it did make for a fun movie to at least drink to.
That was a very fun thing to do.
Yeah, it was. I think my favorite line from Ice Cube in the movie, though, was when he sees a friend of his who supposedly died, and his reaction is, "Oh my God."
It's just so...
It's so off.
It's so weird. But moving away from our worsts of the year,
yes,
where are you going with your best of the year?
So my personal favorites.
Objectively, what you think was the best movie
Objectively, what I thought was the best movie. Okay, so if I'm being honest, surely I can understand why some people... This is one of those movies, I can understand someone saying, God, everybody's been talking about it. Man, won't everyone shut up? It's talked about to death, blah, blah, blah. There's a reason. I'll get into that in a little bit. But I personally think the biggest standout, and I hope it wins a good amount of Oscars this year, was Sinners. Mm-hmm. Because what an idea. Taking music from all sorts of generations, taking a story that is both personal, but at the same time, abstract in a horror environment. Like you almost made a From Dusk Till Dawn movie set in the South during the 30s, the Depression era, I believe. Yeah. I don't want to talk too much about this movie because like doing that would be such a huge disservice to anyone who's never seen it. So without going into too much details, it's about two brothers who were gangsters, I believe, in Chicago. And I only got to see the movie once. I don't have HBO Max. And they start up their own bar together. And without getting into too much detail, some vampires just stop by and start attacking. And there's some awesome music involved.
I almost had this as my best of the year, and I even fought with what I ended up picking as best of the year. But there is no denying that Sinners is just an insanely brilliant original film.
That's what I was going to say.
Something so cool.
It's the reason why people were raving about it. The reason why it was such a smash hit at the box office is because this is the first original idea to really bring everyone together. Say that was awesome. I'm not saying there have been directors that have been able to do that as of recent, like Christopher Nolan did that with not the Odyssey, excuse me, Oppenheimer, and Greta Gerwig with Barbie, and even Denis Villeneuve, excuse me, with Dune. But those are adaptations or biopics of sorts. This is an original idea where someone took a risk, and the studio probably didn't even know what was going to happen. But hey, this is the guy that directed Black Panther. Something's got to come out of this. Oh boy. Like, I think the moment for me, again, I don't want to go into too much detail plot-wise. I want people to see this movie who have heard about to death a little close-minded. But there is a moment in this movie that I will say is the moment when time warps and we hear music of all different eras. This is where the movie needs to win a majority of its Oscars. Mainly cinematography, but yes, that is all I will say to that.
Right. It is such a smart, brilliant film that is also just so fun.
Yes.
And that is why I also love my best of the year, which was One Battle After Another.
I had a feeling.
Yeah, this one, I was surprised how much I really enjoyed this. Because it is a very highly political film. But I will also state is that while Paul Thomas Anderson clearly has a more left-leaning view, he makes it clear that every side that we're focusing on, he looks at the extremists and their faults and where they're messing up. So it's very much like
nobody's safe.
Right. It's a nobody's safe kind of film.
Yeah.
It's also an awesome action movie.
Oh, nice.
Well, and it's also just a very simple idea, which is Leonardo DiCaprio plays a character who was a former revolutionary who's now living a paranoid life with his daughter, and then a person from his past returns to try and get his daughter, and it's up to him and this group to get back and just try and keep her safe and save her.
Wow.
It is literally that simple, and yet this 3-hour runtime, when I watched it, felt like 2 hours, 15 minutes. It's a long film.
I had no idea that was its runtime. Not that I'm scared. I just had no idea.
Right. It is a long film, but with a 15-minute prologue to set up the rest of the story.
15 minutes.
But my goodness, is it a great prologue with phenomenal work across the board. Really, the action sequences, I was surprised Paul Thomas Anderson had this in his wheelhouse, but I'm also somehow not surprised. He just does such a great job keeping the character, telling all the characters through their action sequences and what's going on.
Yeah.
And throughout the film, I was just really impressed with the filmmaking. Like, well, I loved Ryan Coogler's direction of Sinners.
Yes.
But there is no denying that what Paul Thomas Anderson does on One Battle After Another is nothing short of remarkable. The craziest part is there is a scene towards the end that involves roads and perspective and what you can and can't see. And that was not written in the script. PTA was just on set, where they were on location that day getting it, and he was looking at this and he said, we're never going to get this again. So he got out his phone and recorded this sequence that is probably the most tense of the movie.
Wow.
Like, he's been working on the script for apparently 20 years. He's been really thinking about this. How does he want to sit with it? Check
mic levels. There we go.
We're good. Sorry about that. But he does such a good job with just that 20 years. You can tell he's had very specific ideas, but also not being afraid to change what makes it work. Mm-hmm. And that's what just makes it so amazing to watch, is you feel the passion to tell a really good story about extremists who take things too far.
Yeah.
And the ending of the film is really hopeful in what it wants to say and what it wants to do. So I really was close to putting Sinners as well as my best of the year, but the more I sat and thought about it, the more I just was impressed with what was done with One Battle After Another.
Oh, of course.
And the fact that it's an action film that is also a political discussion, and it's also just a brilliantly acted piece. wonderfully shot, beautifully edited. I really want this to win Best Film Editing.
Gotcha.
This is an incredible film, and for me, it objectively was the best of the year for me.
Paul Thomas Anderson is really definitely one of those directors where I gotta be honest, I need to watch a little more of, because after I saw There Will Be Blood, that was one I was like, I gotta see more of this guy. But surprisingly, I think the last Paul Thomas Anderson movie I saw, I didn't get to see Licorice Pizza, sadly, but I also heard mixed things about that one. And the last one I saw was Inherent Vice, which has a good performance from Joaquin Phoenix, but there's only so much he can do in one movie full of a bunch of other talents, of which are escaping my mind at the moment.
After I finished One Battle After Another, I went back and rewatched the Adam Sandler film Punch Drunk Love that he directed. And it's just funny to see this guy who makes this 3-hour action epic can also make this 1.5-hour Adam Sandler comedy.
Oh yeah, I was about to say Punch Drunk Love. Yeah, those are the only two I believe that I've seen. Yeah, just There Will Be Blood and Punch Drunk Love. So definitely need to check more of this guy out. And I think I should start with this one, his current work.
And moving right along, for us, we feel there is a slight difference between best and favorite. I think you can have the best meal of your life that it's really good, but then you have your favorite comfort meal. These are the meals you go back to. And that's how I personally feel about movies, which is there is, like, I love One Battle After Another. I'm not going to be rewatching it every day of the week. But then my favorite films of the year were the films that maybe they're not as good. I can guarantee you not any of these on my favorites are better than One Battle After Another or Sinners.
Maybe they got good Rotten Tomato scores, though.
But objectively, but subjectively, not objectively.
There we go.
These are films I really, really, really enjoyed. And why don't you kick us off though with your number 3?
Yeah,
your
number
third
3.
Favorite.
So my third favorite. This one was a little tricky because I was thinking, the way I like to break out my list is I don't want it to be the same thing. Like we don't want a bunch of superhero movies or horror movies, action movies. We don't want that. We want some variety. So I thought of animated movies. I was like, I really liked Elio, but Zootopia was amazing. Now this movie, however, this movie is definitely not up for any awards. I don't think too many people got to see this, sadly. But I got to see this, and for the first time, I think I understood how folks felt when they saw Looney Tunes cartoon in the theater. And that movie for my number 3 was Looney Tunes, The Day the Earth Blew Up, which was just such a loony delight without any other way to put it. I mean, it is legitimately a love letter to all Looney Tunes. Like, I'm not the biggest aficionado. I like a lot of Looney Tunes. I'll watch whatever I can and then I'll turn it off eventually. But for one, the reason why I love to give the Looney Tunes more of a shot is because they feel like such underdogs at this stage in the game, because sadly not too many children out there I talk to have heard of them, or they think that they're really cool. And I remember there was a time when I thought that when there were other kids that liked wearing t-shirts with like Bugs Bunny and Tweety Bird. I don't see too many of those kids anymore. But getting back to the movie, I digress. This movie was it was so funny. First of all, it's a Porky and Daffy story. And you'd think, wait, just Porky and Daffy, no bugs? Look, they're enough. They are more than enough to hold a movie together. And I can guarantee you, Daffy, we've known Daffy as kind of a stubborn jerk over the years. This Daffy is Daffy. Like, as in, like, Looney to the letter. Porky, Porky's perfect too. Like, he's such a wide-eyed innocent, but he's always willing to do the right thing while having to work with someone who's a bit of a screw up. It's like having that roommate. You're like, come on, man, I really need your help. And they're in the middle of this, let's just put it this way. This did War of the Worlds better than War of the Worlds did this year. That's how much I can say it. There is even a moment, smallish short story. I went with my friend JD to go see this movie, and I joked with him about saying, "Hey, you want to see if we'll get kicked out for laughing too loudly?" Because Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing got kicked out of a movie theater for laughing too loudly at a Looney Tunes cartoon. Well, that didn't happen. There was a moment in the movie that did have us laughing on the floor. Like, we had to catch our breath. So for anyone out there who has HBO Max and remember the Looney Tunes being funny, definitely check this out. Give it attention. And also, I guess shameless little plug, Acme versus Coyote. Or I'm sorry, Coyote versus Acme.
This year.
Yeah. Little tease there.
And yeah, I will say I got to watch this on a plane when I was going to see a show in California. And It was such a funny movie. It's such a sweet time. It was hard for me to stifle laughter in a plane full of people. They probably thought I
Yeah.
was crazy. But
Mhm.
I was sitting there just having the time of my life. I can definitely see how fun this movie is. And yeah, it's definitely worth a watch.
Sad that it got a very limited release, but I'm just grateful I was finally able to see a 2D animated movie in theaters, because the last 2D animated movie I saw in theaters was Home on the Range. So,
For me, my number 3 was the third Knives Out film, Wake Up Dead Man.
I've heard a lot of great things about this one.
It's just another Ryan Johnson masterpiece that subverts expectations. And it just tells the story of a priest who has gone through hell and back, and he is trying so hard to truly be this priest, like truly have his heart in it.
Yes.
And when he is accused of murder of Father Wicks, who was this awful priest he was working under,
Yeah.
Benoit Blanc teams up with him and tries to clear his name. It's as simple as that. But it takes so many twists and turns that you don't know where it's going. And that's, of course, just as brilliant as ever. The part that I really enjoy in this one, my brother pointed this out for me, is that this is the first time Blanc has ideologically disagreed with somebody that he is helping. They aren't like clashing with one another, but when they both meet each other, they both clearly view the world differently.
Of course.
But that's what makes some of this dialogue so intriguing. And it makes some of these interactions so brilliant. And then, of course, the supporting cast, aside from them, is incredible. Josh Brolin as Father Wicks is amazing. Jeremy Renner as a doctor who lost his wife. She left him.
Oh, okay.
And so he's like doing everything to try and win her back.
Yeah.
And then Glenn Close as the very dedicated woman that she is in this movie. Thomas Hayden Church plays her husband. It's a really great cast all around. Andrew Scott plays a writer a sci-fi writer that's been disgraced and is catering to a very
Younger
certain
audience,
crowd. Not even younger audience, but
okay.
like they say a certain crowd that would be dressed like John Goodman in the Big Lebowski.
That's hilarious.
That's how they describe him.
That's perfect.
But what I love is that it's also brilliantly shot, brilliantly acted, and like the other two Knives Out movies, I can turn this on almost any time and just have a good movie.
I really wish I need to get my roommate's Netflix like powered up, because she says it's already on her TV. So I was like, so it could be on my TV. I got to see this now because I keep hearing nothing but good things. And thankfully, this was a movie, even though it was a Netflix movie, if I'm correct. Yeah.
Right.
This movie, actually, if I'm correct, also it premiered at South by Southwest, festival here in Austin, and Ryan Johnson was there for it, I believe. And so that was, man, how awesome would that have been to have seen a premiere with Ryan Johnson?
Oh yeah, I've never been. It's ironic. I live in Austin, and I've never been to South by Southwest.
I mean, I have, but for some of the music events, not the film events. I need to, but there's always some. It's either I'm out of town for like spring break or whoever's on vacation, or work, or something else. There's always something really dumb in the way, and I really need to start planning ahead of time. Yeah, but this also got a theatrical release too, so I'm glad it got that much from Netflix, especially with what's happening currently.
Right, and I'm glad I got to see it in theaters. It was just I'm lucky that I've gotten to see all three of them in theaters.
Yeah,
and this one I was especially glad, especially from the first shot. I was like, I'm so glad I'm in the theater for this. It's such a very, very well-made movie.
Yeah, I got a Netflix movie too, but we'll get to that in a moment.
Right, your number 2?
My number 2 is, well, this is going to be one that's kind of a no-brainer for anyone who's listening to us. If they've heard our favorites of the summer, I'm just going to incorporate it right here on the list. Superman. Superman was just... I mean, I said Looney Tunes was such a delightful time, much like this. Yeah, this was a very delightful time, because in an age where a lot of superhero movies are coming out and people just kind of go, whatever, it goes through one ear and out the other, this is one I know is going to stay. I went to go see it twice. I remember a lot of details that I'm getting excited for with the sequel. There's more in this universe that can be explored, and it's just one movie, and I already want to know so much more. Now, it's not to say Marvel sucked at that in the beginning. It's just, it was a slow burn. We had Iron Man. We couldn't establish there were other superheroes just yet. We had to establish him. Here, we're in a world full of superheroes. We're not only in a world full of superheroes, we're in a world where you can have like a stone white face with like granite on your arm and purple scales on the other arm. And then you could be married to a human, but you can have a baby too with
That's
that woman.
green and weird.
That looks like a Piccolo from Dragon Ball Z, kind of. And but on top of that, this is something that a lot of superhero movies still have been missing. Now, I'm not saying they all need to do this. It's just this is something that this particular movie needed to be, which was not epic, grand. That's what this was. This was a grand story. This was the beginning of a new age of superheroes. It's embracing, kind of like what I said for Fantastic Four, it's embracing its roots. And that's what I love about this. It's showing us a world. This is how it is, and this is what you need to, this is how you should accept it. And I'm not saying that to people who don't like comic book movies. I'm just saying, no, this is the mindset. And on top of that, great performances and with a great message about what it means to not just be a hero, but what it means to just be a good person and stick to the roots that you grew up learning for yourself, not what someone else wanted for you. And I'm not saying like that people who want something good for you, you shouldn't follow their rules. It's like what I'm trying to get at is I'm all over the place. James Gunn wrote this movie with the intent to bring niceness into the cultural zeitgeist. And I think that is a very noble approach from any filmmaker who is also a CEO of a major studio, by the way. So whether or not you see this movie as a game changer, that's okay. As a great movie, it's also, that's okay too. But the fact that, like I said, this is a company that's now trying to bring something new, not just with superheroes, but with its messaging, and it's not in your face. It gets a little bit in your face, but that's because Superman's been beaten to a pulp. He has to let it out. So I give it a pass there.
Right.
But the fact, like I said, he wants to bring in a new era of niceness, in an era where kind of being dominant and an aggressive is the norm. And it's like, that shouldn't be the norm, though. Look what Superman's teaching us.
Right. I will add more to Superman later on. All I will also add, though, is that it seems this DCU CEO, as you mentioned, being a co-CEO, has
James
worked.
Gunn, yeah.
Because it just got announced today when we were recording this that they're doing that at Star Wars now.
Really?
Yeah, Lucasfilm has announced that Kathleen Kennedy, which we know she's been announced to leave for a while.
Yes.
But I'm going to look up the name of the other co-CEO, but Dave Filoni will be the co-president of Lucasfilm.
That makes sense considering his background. And look, I'm not gonna be one of those folks that says Kathleen Kennedy sucks. I'm just gonna be one of those folks that says when she's been in charge, yes, there's been some hits, there's been some misses. I think it is time she steps down. I'll just say that.
And he will be joined by Lin-Wen Brennan, who will be his business type partner. If I was correct, she is the general manager at Lucasfilm, so it's dropping in. And props to Kathleen Kennedy for everything she did. Whether we liked it or not, it remains to be seen. She had a very hard task amongst her, but now Filoni and Brennan taking on the role, it's showing, I wonder if we're going to see more co-CEOs in the future.
Yeah, because a one-man ship, I'm not going to lie, is risky. But when you've got two people who have one vision in one area and another vision in another area with this studio, that can help. That shows a dynamic of power, not only in power, but of thought. And that can help too.
Moving right along into my second favorite of the year, I actually had to fight and flip-flop back and forth between these two. And I eventually landed on this one, and I rewatched it this morning. And it was K-pop Demon Hunters.
Of course.
Now, it's crazy because that was actually just the working title throughout production. But the directors were looking at it and they're like, that's what this movie is. It's K-pop Demon Hunters.
Yes.
And it doesn't sound like it could work. And yet,
it somehow does.
It somehow does. You just follow this group of 3 girls who are this group known as Huntrix, who are a K-pop group, which is a slight cover, kind of not. It is a K-pop group, but they're using it to be to fight demons and seal this thing known as the Hanmoon to protect souls of the earth. And it all comes crashing around when the head girl has a secret of her past being revealed. And what she's been hiding, as well as the appearance of a demon boy band that is threatening to overtake them. And again, a simple premise, and yet these characters are so brilliant.
Nice.
The music is incredible. Like, I'm not a fan of K-pop at all.
I give or take, yeah.
Yeah, within the first 10 minutes, I was hooked. And I wanted to see more, and I have listened to this music so much. And all of the songs I think are great. They're all bangers.
Mm-hmm.
And especially those written by, her name is EJ, which is EGAE.
Oh, cool.
And she also provides the lead character Rumi's singing voice.
Oh, I remember you telling me about this a few days ago. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So it feels so personal, but as well as it's multi-layered. And something I've been talking about with musicals for a while is that they've been trying to toe a line between, do we write the songs just fully for context, or do we write for, they can be listened to out of context and still be just as impactful?
Of course.
And it's a very delicate balancing act that musicals have been suffering through as of late. But K-pop Demon Hunters is the first one that I've seen in recent memory where it has really worked all the way through. Like, all the songs are great and can be listened to, and you're like, wow, that was powerful. But then hearing it in context, there is layers upon layers upon layers of the way they'll sing it. Like the girl group Huntrix, when they meet the demon boy band, they're like, all right, we're going to write a diss track. And later on, that diss track, and to not give any spoilers, is used against them.
Oh.
And that's just the way the layers work with them. And they do sound like what you would hear on the radio, but they also work so beautifully within the context of the story. The songwriting of this movie truly is insane. But that's not even getting into how good the animation is.
Yeah.
How good the voice actors themselves are. And it's an all Korean cast. And you also have phenomenal works. And I'm looking at my notes here. The directors, Chris Applehans and Maggie Kang, they are insane talents. Chris Applehans was actually, he directed his last movie he directed was Wish Dragon.
Okay.
And Maggie Kang, I think, was the storyboard artist on that. She was the head of story on that. And they were originally both going to take a break, but then she came up with this idea, and they both just said, you know what, let's go for it. And Sony gave it to them, and this is where some people have said, they should have released it in theaters.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, you would have had to risk this being a sleeper hit, because you were not going to... with the title K-pop Demon Hunters, no matter how you market this film,
it's niche. It's going to have its audience.
Yeah, it's going to be niche, and not a lot of people like us who are big cinephiles would have immediately given it the time of day.
Even if we had heard as much as we did until like what I'm hearing from you too. Yeah.
Right. I think you would have had to risk the first 2 or 3 weeks it not doing well.
Yeah.
And then slowly but surely, gradually building up by critical reviews and word of mouth.
But even then, it's not even 50-50. Like, it's very low chances of that climb, because it's been really hard for movies to really recuperate their monies now these days. Yeah.
Right. And so for Sony Animation, I get why they sold it to Netflix. Netflix, I don't think even expected it to. Netflix was smart and did do the limited release to get it qualify for the Oscars.
That was a
good
idea.
They didn't do it for the UK, so they didn't qualify for the BAFTAs. And they didn't even... Now, I will say, against the BAFTAs, I'm very annoyed that they chose not to do the exception clause.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because there is an exception clause you can make, but the UK decided not to do it, which I'm not surprised the BAFTAs do that. They do that quite a bit.
Wow.
But but for Netflix, they are like, we're going to do limited just in case. Mm-hmm. And well, then it did super well. And they said, you know what? For Halloween, we're going to do a sing-along re-release in the theaters, wide release. And we don't know the money it made because Netflix keeps it close to the chest. All we know is domestically, it was in the top 5 movies of that week.
Gotcha.
Which shows that this movie was strong enough for theaters. It needed to find its audience. And I think this is an example of streaming taking something obscure and just elevating it to where it deserved to be.
And it can work in its advantage for the theater industry too. Now that's something Netflix can hopefully figure out for themselves along with WB, but that's a topic for another discussion. I guess, I'll have to check this one out. Like I said, I got to activate my roommate's Netflix, but yeah, definitely going to have to give this. I'll have to do this a lot sooner than later because I made the mistake of waiting a little too long to watch Puss in Boots: The Final Wish. So
I told you.
Yeah.
I really told you.
Yeah, that was another one. Much like Princess and the Frog, I was kicking myself in the ass for not seeing this in theater. So if I've learned anything, yeah.
And
Yeah.
what's your number one? What was your favorite movie of the year?
We don't want to do honorable mentions, or
you can do honorable mentions.
I got quite a few. So I really liked Ballerina. That was a movie that was really fun for the John Wick franchise. I wanted to get more attention. Definitely give it a look if you're an action buff person. For horror, I really like 28 Years Later. Really great way to begin a new trilogy, and can't wait for the sequel, which is coming out in 2.5 weeks. That's like, what? This movie came out 4 months ago? Anyway, the not underground, but the indie horror movie, Bring Her Back. Oof, well, I'm not going to talk too much about that. Go see that for yourself. Zootopia 2, really fun. How to Train Your Dragon remake was a pleasant surprise. I'm not going to lie. Not Top Gun, excuse me, Naked Gun. So now it all boils down to number one, though, which this was a movie I was anticipating. I knew it was going to be great. I just wasn't expecting to cry at least 5 times during it. And this was Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein. This is a great story I read back when I was in high school. The book I actually devoted most of my attention to until we had to move on to the next book. And I was like, I don't care anymore. But what an amazing story that is not only just capturing the spirit of the book, but just feels so personal to Del Toro's vision of not fatherhood, but just life in general, because he's such a that's what he likes to do. He likes to take slices of life and childhood and make you not only embrace yourself and becoming a better person, but embrace who you were before, which is such a powerful and not easy message to get across to help audience digest, which thankfully, with a story like Frankenstein, where someone starts off as this monster per se, and it goes through a life-changing existential journey. And on top of that, coming from a father Frankenstein is a father in the sense that he created this creature, but a father who has no experience being a father, and yet he wants to be a creator. It is me talking further about the beauty of this movie would be such a disservice. So all I can say is, all the awards it will hopefully get nominated for, whether that be director, picture, aside from that, production design, costuming, adapted screenplay, hopefully, and hopefully also best supporting actor for Jacob Elordi, who is just a knockout as the monster. This could have been so easy, like such an easy thing to mess up. I'm not saying he would have done that, Del Toro. No, I had every bit of faith in him, but man, it could have been so easy for some jackass executive to come in and say, well, the monster's a bit ugly, and we want this actor who's, he's pretty handsome. We want him to have a career. We want him to catch on. It's like, okay, audiences can catch on that there's makeup, and audiences will understand that this is a Frankenstein movie. We don't need to bring in, say, Harry Styles and keep his face just because, we want to bring in his demographic. No, we need to stay true to Frankenstein, the ideas, the philosophies, the visuals. Watch this movie. It's on Netflix. Thankfully it got a theatrical release. It just took a week to get there.
As somebody that's also in my honorable mentions of the year, Frankenstein was a beautiful film, and it was so well done. My honorable mentions of the year, they're definitely Mickey 17.
Oh man.
Thunderbolts, The Venetian Scheme, How to Train Your Dragon, Elio, Fantastic Four, and Zootopia 2, Marty Supreme.
Yes.
So good. But my personal favorite of the year, I fought with it so long, was this really my favorite? And the answer is, yeah, it was Superman.
Oh.
You've already said pretty much everything about what makes Superman so good. But I will say, I will add, even though this is my favorite movie of the year, I do have some issues with it.
Best to at least cover the imperfections, because let's be real, Superman himself ain't perfect.
Right. Like, I did not like the Jor-El twist.
No, I didn't like it either, because we've already done that so many times with stuff like, say, Brightburn or whatever. Yeah, but that just didn't feel necessary.
Right. And it does tie into the message of the film. I just don't think it's not as interesting because it feels like a character assassination of Jor-El. But I am curious if Man of Tomorrow, either it's going to reveal this is or this isn't true.
Oh.
But I am curious to see what they want to do with it. And even if they do keep it, fine. It's the one element of the film I'm like, well, that's not really Superman.
If I had to probably guess, this was what got me wondering though, because they did something very similar with Bruce Wayne's parents in the Robert Pattinson Batman movie, which I won't go into too much details there, I guess. But that got people asking me here and there. I was like, wait, so is that what they're doing? They're just going to make the superheroes like parents bad all of a sudden and then make them, I don't know, good because people were all of a sudden confusing these universes being united, which here's the little disclosure. No, Robert Pattinson's Batman is not in this Superman universe, but there is a Batman. We just haven't introduced him yet. But like you said, it ties into the character, but it doesn't feel Superman, and it's not really much of an issue with me either.
Right. I will say my one other flaw with this movie is that some of the goofier elements do detract from some scenes. It's like very few moments. That's me getting nitpicky.
That's the James Gunn goofy moments.
Yes, the James Gunn goofy moments that I am a huge James Gunn fan, but I will admit sometimes he does let the humor overshadow the character.
But I think he's smart enough to know when to tone it back.
Right, and he definitely does that a lot throughout this movie.
Yeah.
And that's where all my issues really end. Like, David Corenswet, you can tell he thought about every single little detail of Superman. Yeah. And I remember when I texted you, you did not want Corenswet to be Superman, but you grew to like him.
It wasn't so much that I didn't want him to be Superman. It's just that I didn't want a new Superman when Henry Cavill was still there. That was the idea. I was like saying, just reboot the universe and keep Cavill. But I understand why we had to do this. There was no point in holding on to something that just wasn't working, regardless of what some other people might be saying on the internet.
Right. Yeah. But I do think Corenswet found the heart of the character. There's that really beautiful behind the scenes moment where he's talking with Gunn about, well, how am I feeling in this moment? James Gunn has even said, every other actor I've worked with has been like, sure, James, I'll do this. And it wasn't Corenswet. Corenswet questioned everything because he just cares that much. And James Gunn says, David Corenswet made me a better director.
Oh, yeah.
Which I love that. And then, of course, Rachel Brosnahan as Lois.
She was perfect. I've only seen a handful of Miss Maisel, but when I learned this woman was going to be Lois, I was like, yes, that makes so much sense. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What I also really like is that even though she is Superman's girlfriend, even though they are connected in this way, she is actively having her own story and own role. And it's not just supporting him, but it's also furthering her and who she is as a person.
Yeah, she's not just relegated to supporting Superman or just kind of helping him figure out what's going on. Though that is what she does. She does support and help him, but it's very much she's trying to figure out what she wants in life with this alien that she's dating. Because, well, when was the last time you heard of a human dating an indestructible alien?
Right. And then Nicholas Hoult has quickly become one of my favorite Lex Luthors.
Yes. Gene Hackman was great.
Gene Hackman was great for everything I feel about him as a person. Kevin Spacey was very good.
He did what he did, yeah.
Michael Rosenbaum was, I think, our best Lex. Like, he was the Lex in Smallville.
Okay, I did not watch that.
He was brilliant. I think Clancy Brown is still the best Lex Luthor overall in the animated versions. But Nicholas Hoult is making a very strong case, and I'm very excited for how Man of Tomorrow is going to further explore Lex.
Oh, yeah.
And I love that he is both intimidating and he's so pathetic.
And he's like, in almost a funny way, not like he gets tossed around like, say, Admiral, what was his name, Hux from the Star Wars sequel trilogy. No, he gets, he does get his comeuppance, but that's when it's warranted because he's been able to get away with so much. With, billionaires being able to do whatever they want.
Yeah.
Yeah, not to get political. Anyway, but what was really awesome about Lex Luthor is he had personality. He wasn't just putting on a show. He was actually trying to prove a point, which I don't want to get too much into here, but later on in the movie, he says something to Superman's face where he says, "You're killing us." And it's like, and Superman is wearing a Kingdom Come logo S in this universe. And if you know the Kingdom Come story, the background, you got to wonder, is that James Gunn? Are you building up to something here with that little statement? Just a thought.
And then, of course, you have the Justice Gang themselves. Nathan Fillion is Guy Gardner. Isabella Merced is Hawkgirl.
Yes.
And, of course, James Gunn in the freaking IP biggest superhero you can. He still takes the character of Mr. Terrific.
Yeah.
And it just
elevated him.
Onto off the page, onto the screen, and everyone goes, I want to see another Mr. Terrific. And
Or-
it's like, please, Mr. Terrific movie whenever you can.
Mr. Treviño movie, at the very least, a terrific series that fleshes out who he was before he became Mr. Terrific, something like that.
And that's not even touching on the rest of the supporting cast who are all great. Like, Jimmy Olsen is great in this. Perry White is amazing in this. Eve Teskmacher is great in this.
She has an active role. She's not just Lex Luthor's like blonde woman who's just there to look pretty, which she does do a lot of that.
The entirety of Lex's group, who has their own little subplots going on,
That's so true.
Is great. But
one of them named Otis, by the way.
Then you also have the gorgeous cinematography that is insane.
Really
These
good.
gorgeous special effects that make Crypto the Superdog somehow one of the best characters of the movie.
Well, like I said earlier, it's wearing its Silver Age roots on its sleeve. It's creating this world that's very magical in what seems like a world very much similar to ours. A good example of that was kind of very much the scene where, a couple of examples, you have the kaiju fight in the middle of the city. And it's like, yeah, that's something you'd see in a comic from the 60s. And Fantastic Four did something very similar in its beginning when it homaged the first comic cover for that. And then later on in the movie, you've got the superheroes like kind of minding their own business. Like you've got Green Lantern eating cereal or whatever in a diner. You got Hot Girl just kind of sitting in her room minding her own business. Then you've got, like I said earlier, the character I brought up, Metamorpho, with his wife, who looks nothing like Metamorpho does not look human, but he's sitting with his baby trying to figure out what he wants to do in terms of saving the world. It's like, it's wearing its roots and it's not ashamed of it, like what a lot of other comic book movies, I'm not saying are ashamed, some are ashamed of,
right?
But some were also more like, I don't know, like they were iffy about it. It's like, I think the movie that was a little bit iffy about it, movies that were very iffy were very much the movies from the 2000s, like the X-Men movie, and to some certain capacity, the 2005 Fantastic Four movie.
Right. And overall, though, Superman is just, it's a wonderful film, truly, from people who love the character, love the story they're going to tell, and love what's coming next. I'm very excited for it.
Man of Tomorrow, I can't wait. And Supergirl, which we may talk on another list.
Right. Because next week, friends, we are going to be talking about the most anticipated movies of 2026. There's a lot coming that we're excited to talk about. But until then, let us know in the comments below what were your worst, your best, and your personal favorites of 2025. And we will try to see you all next week.
But most importantly, what was a movie that really, really spoke to you like it did for us? I mean, really, we'd like to hear.
All right. Well, thank you all so much. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you later.
Bye.